What's up everybody, it's Vikton here with an update video on my Skeleton Mages build, specifically for Sentinel League, where I'm going to be going over all of my finds so far this league on what's working best for gearing these days, the correct purchase order you guys want to make for your upgrades, some changes to the gear we've made, and actually a mini guide on a bossing strategy that I've been using to fully gear out my character with near min-maxed gear already. I'm sitting at about 16 million DPS, 5k life with max spell block and attack block, of course the life recovered on block as well, and that's with about 90% of my in-game items acquired. I still don't have the +2 duration corrupted flesh crafter or the zealotry effect wand, and I most certainly do not have the ashes of stars yet, because as you guys know, it has skyrocketed in price. But fear not, I actually have a whole section in this video talking about alternatives to ashes of the stars. And just briefly before we get going here, if you guys enjoy the content I put out and would like to support the channel, head on over to my Twitch stream. I stream each weekend and a couple of days during the week as well. Always happy to answer y'all's questions over there and just hang out. I also have a Patreon link below where y'all can support the channel, as well as get access to my community Discord, where I do personal build reviews for you guys all the time. Anyways, enough of all that, let's go ahead and hop right into it. So, Dead Reckoning Jewel. As you guys know, this starts out pretty high. It's usually about 1.3 to 1.4x the first, I would say, 3 to 4 days of a league, and then throughout the course of the first week, it drops down significantly. As you can see right now, these are all updated prices as of immediately right now, and it is going for about 19k, so definitely manageable for any starter person that is coming into the league. Even on day 1, 2, 3 of your playthrough, you can absolutely pick up a Dead Reckoning. Now, what I would suggest, and I have been telling people, is definitely level up as Absolution until you put your hands on this Dead Reckoning and throw it in your jewel slot. But until then, do Absolution, and then once you are actually able to acquire this, go ahead and switch right away to Dead Reckoning and get your Skele Mages rolling. It is better than Absolution, at least in my opinion, so I would say go ahead and switch right when you can afford this jewel. So moving on from Dead Reckoning, what's next? And one thing I did want to mention, I'm going to kind of talk about these things in order of importance as far as upgrades for your build, and we're going to talk about kind of some of the cheaper things that you can do all the way up to some of the crazy stuff that you can do. So first and foremost, of course, is just go ahead and picking up that Dead Reckoning, right? So after your Dead Reckoning, you're of course going to want to, before you get your flesh crafter here, you're really just going to want to gear out your character with regular rare items. Definitely try and get your chaos resistance up as much as possible. Definitely remember that you can use the bench craft that has up to 15% life, 15% fire, lightning, and cold resist, as well as chaos resist. It's one of my favorite crafts in the game. Make sure you have an open suffix on almost all the items that you purchase or you find, so that you can do that bench craft. And if you do that on a lot of your pieces, you're going to get up to 75% chaos res actually really fast and really easily. You're only going to need maybe 1 or 2 pieces of gear that actually has chaos resist on it that is not bench crafted. So it's a pretty good strategy to get max chaos resist pretty easily. So go ahead and do that. Get your gear out, you know, get at least 5k life, capped resistances, capped chaos resistance, and you will be pretty set to move on to kind of your next step here, which is of course going to be your flesh crafter. Now, what I would say, and I have told this to people for several leagues here, is start out with a tabula rasa. That's about, I don't know, 10, 15 chaos, right? And once you're done with the tabula rasa and you've got about, you know, 28 to 30 chaos, go ahead and sell your tabula rasa so you can make a little bit of that currency back and purchase one of these. These are really not too bad. 28 chaos, 29, 30 chaos for a 5-link flesh crafter. These are better than a 6-link tabula rasa, so do keep that in mind. It is better to go ahead and get a 5-link than a 6-link tabula rasa, so pick that up when you can. Moving on from there, we do have our 6-link flesh crafter here. Now, one thing that I do want to mention to you guys, that first off, the prices are going down for this quite significantly, so once you're in that 4 to 4 exalts range, you can go ahead and start thinking about getting your flesh crafter. One thing to keep in, or your 6-link flesh crafter, one thing to keep in mind though, is that you can of course always just do the recipe for 1500 fusing orbs and have a guaranteed 6 link. Make sure it's 6 socketed first, but then you can go ahead and just do the bench craft for this. And it costs you about 4 exalts. It's going to be, you know, it is what it is. You pay 1,500 fusing orbs and you get a 6 link. So it's 4 exalts. So this technically is cheaper than purchasing one of these for 4.5 exalts. So you might save, you know, 60, 70, 80 chaos by doing the fusing method. So kind of keep that in mind. And you can definitely save a lot of money if you're not purchasing in like super bulk like this, right? So if you're purchasing maybe only 300-400 fusings at a time, you're definitely going to save an extra 20-30 chaos on top of that. So you're looking at probably saving, you know, 80 to 100 chaos by doing the fusing method over just purchasing a 6 link straight up. Now, I would not suggest actually trying to 6 link these yourself, just because they are down in price quite significantly already. It is not worth the risk in my opinion. Very tragic story. Last league I spent 5,000 fusings on my flesh crafter. Feels real bad. So it was just a life lesson that I took for you guys, and we don't want to do that. So never do that. Spend your 1,500, do the crafting recipe in the bench, call it a day. So get that, and you'll be good to go. And it's really not too bad, sitting at about 4 exalts. Moving on from there, let's go ahead and talk about kind of what you want to do. You know what? I would actually probably say this is before you do your 6 link. I should have drugged that over here. So get your 5 link flesh crafter. Now, before you get your 6 link flesh crafter, which again is about 4x, you want to spend your currency on a Animate Guardian. Okay. Now, a lot of people don't like the Animate Guardians because they think they die, but I promise you, if you set it up right, it will never die. I promise you guys. I know it's scary, but it will never die. And I'm going to show you guys how to set it up to where it will never die. So here's the setup that you're going to want for your Animate Guardian. And I do have a little tab over here for the Better Trading app. I'm going to go ahead and save this for you guys. It's going to be linked in the description below. And again, in order to import that, you're going to go ahead and click import folder right here, import the code. And that is not the pastebin link. Make sure you actually click into that pastebin link in the description, go to that website, and then copy all of the actual text in there and then import it right here, and then there you go. It's going to get you the links to all of these items here. So Kingmaker, you guys know this, you know, it's a crazy good item. It's giving you a whole bunch of defenses, 10% reduced damage. It's giving you critical strike multiplier. It's giving you culling strike, which is effectively a 10% more damage multiplier. So just a fantastic item. Now, what we're going to do to make our Animate Guardian basically immortal is get a doppelgangers, guys. These are about 1 exalt, maybe a little bit less. These are about 100 chaos, so a little bit less than 1 exalt. So really not too bad, and it is absolutely crazy. So there's a couple things here that make this really, really good. The less physical and chaos damage taken while sane. Now, your Animate Guardian will actually always stay sane. It will never go to this insane modifier, so it always has these 2 effects right here. So it's always going to take 30 up to 40% reduced physical and chaos damage, which is fantastic in itself. And on top of that, regenerate 10% life over 1 second when you're hit, right? So anytime your Animate Guardian gets hit, it's going to regenerate 10% of its life over 1 second. And the crazy thing is that actually stacks. So it's going to be regenning life like crazy, and it's never going to go below like 95% HP. I promise you guys, this item is what is going to save your entire Animate Guardian. It's absolutely worth the 1 exalt. If you do not have that currency and you only have a little bit less, you can pick up a Garb of the Ephemeral, which is also a pretty solid idea. But as you can tell, really guys, it's not, that is not the right price. It's 60 chaos. It's not that much more, it's not that cheaper, you know, compared to the doppelgangers, guys. Maybe like 50 chaos less type of thing. But this is another solid option. The reason this is solid is you cannot be crit when your Animate Guardian is near you, which is pretty much all the time. And also your action speed cannot be lowered below base value. So like, you know, chilled ground, any of that type of stuff, you're never going to be slowed beyond what's allowed to be slow, like up to your base, right? So this is a solid option as a cheaper option, but it's so close to the actual price of the doppelgangers. I honestly just suggest you guys save a little bit more and go ahead and get that doppelgangers, guys. Now for your gloves, there's a couple things that we are doing here that is probably different from some other leagues. and there's a specific reason for this. Now, this is actually a relatively cheap Animate Guardian setup. It's going to be about a 1.5 Exalt setup for your Animate Guardian. Most of that is that Doppelganger's Guise, and the reason here is because we're not doing anything fancy with our gloves or our boots, right? So our gloves here, literally all we're doing here is getting trigger Decree of Winter when hit. Now, if you guys don't know what that is, basically when you get hit, it sends out a whole bunch of projectiles around you, and it puts chilled ground on the ground, and if monsters walk over it, they get chilled. So really good for defenses, and it's incredibly cheap. It's literally 1 chaos. You can't go wrong with that. If you wanted to do something crazier, if you really want to min-max it, you can get gloves that have Unnerve on hit for 10% more spell damage. But that's if you're really trying to min-max it. I don't do that myself. I just go with Trigger Decree of Winter when you get hit. Moving on to our boots, and I'll just kind of mention the reason we're doing here is also cheap, right? 24 chaos for these, nothing too crazy, but drops brittle ground while moving. This is I think it's a Searing Exarch. I'm not actually sure. It's either a Searing Exarch or an Eater of Worlds implicit. But what brittle ground does is it will basically, wherever your Animate Guardian walks, he's going to drop some goop on the ground that is brittled ground. Now, what brittle ground does is it makes the enemy take 5% increased critical strike chance. And I'm pretty sure, maybe you guys correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that is additive to your base critical strike chance of your skeleton mages, which I'm pretty sure is also 5%. So it would effectively make their base critical strike chance 10% instead of 5%. So it is very good for critical strike chance, which is great. That pairs really well with your Kingmaker, which is the critical strike multi. So it's pretty good and it's pretty cheap. And one tip though here is your Animate Guardian's kind of derpy because we do use Meat Shield in this build, which makes him actually stay close to you. So I would suggest, if you can and you feel safe to do so, kind of run around the boss a little bit, and your Animate Guardian will follow you, and he'll drop that little brittle ground goop on the ground all over the boss, and that will kind of trigger that brittle, and that's kind of how that process works. But these are super cheap, and it's very good for defense, or I'm sorry, very good for DPS. Moving on to the helmet, this is a little bit more expensive, but also nothing too crazy. This is kind of what rounds it out to that, 1.5 to 2x range for your Animate Guardian. It is this right here. Nearby enemies take 6% increased elemental damage. That's just a flat 6% more multiplier. So very, very good for DPS if you're trying to min-max your DPS. If you don't want to do, spend 100x, if you don't want to spend 100 chaos, that's totally fine. You honestly can just get the Doppelgangers and the Kingmaker, and then some basic other stuff, and you're fine. This is probably what I would do after, you kind of set up your Animate Guardian. Maybe you have a little bit more currency, and then you want to, dump it into this and get a little bit more damage. Until then, honestly, just get whatever. Get a helmet with maybe some life and some elemental resistances. Do not get any gear for him that has chaos resistance. That is very important. You do not want him to have any chaos resistance, because if he goes above 50% chaos resistance due to our Flesh Crafter, he will actually die. And that is very bad. So make sure you're not getting any chaos resistance on the gear that you give your Animate Guardian. So that's your Animate Guardian. I would honestly suggest doing that before getting your 6 link. That's what I've been telling people. I think the DPS you gain from it and the defenses you gain from it are absolutely well worth money spent, and I promise you, for the 4th time, guys, he's not going to die if you do it correctly. The only other piece that I do want to mention here that is very important in order to make sure that he doesn't die is to put him in your helmet, and to have a helmet that has +3 to minion gem levels. So he's going to get +3 to minion gem levels, which gives him a ton of life. It's very important. And I would also suggest going ahead and purchasing a level 20 Animate Guardian. Let's go ahead and take a look and see what the cost of that is. So pretty cheap, just 12 chaos for that. If you want to min-max, you could get a Divergent Animate Guardian for a little bit more life. These are very much more expensive, so don't worry about that if you really don't want to need it. You honestly don't need this unless you're like I said, crazy min-maxing. What you could do though is this is what I did. I purchased a level 21 Animate Guardian for about 40 chaos, and that's going to just get him that +1 level, which is really going to help with giving him a little bit extra life, again, to give him the most opportunity to survive. But even a level 20, you're probably going to be fine. My level 21 Animate Guardian is sitting at 91,000 life, and he has never even gone below 95% HP, like not even close to dying. He's totally fine. So moving on to the next section here. After you get that, again, at that point you want to go ahead and pick up your 6-link Flesh Crafter. It's a huge DPS spike. Now, as far as gems within this, your 6-link is actually going to be crit damage. So your links are actually going to be this. And I'm going to try and do this in order of importance. Obviously, you're going to have your Vol Summon Skeletons first. You're going to have your Spell Echo. You're going to have your Pierce. And then you're going to have minion damage, which you want to upgrade to awaken minion damage when you can. And then you're going to have volley. Now, when you do bosses, you actually should switch out that volley to a hypothermia. Just so you guys know, switch that out to a hypothermia, and then your 6-link is going to be critical strike damage. Moving on. So what we have, we already talked about the fusings there. So this is a interesting choice for shield. I really like this choice for shield. It's really not too expensive, about 3x. And the reason I like this over shields that have, you know, the 5% of life gained or recovered on block, but the rare ones, right, is these. It might be actually a little bit more expensive, but this is giving you 3,000 armor. That is crazy, dudes. 3,000 armor. It's giving you an extra 6% chance to block, which is going to help cap you in your block. So just overall, honestly, for 3 exalts, that's a super solid upgrade in my opinion. But of course, if you don't want to do that, your other option here is just to get a shield. Very simply with, let's type on block here, and let's find... where are you? Well, when you block, maybe? There it is. Recover % life when you block. And honestly, you can search for 3. The range here is 3 to 5, but you can search for 3 and you just divine it yourself. What I would do, however, is search for armor. So I would put an armor here. I would do armor. And then let's go ahead and search that. So yeah, I mean, 40 chaos for an absolute base, like poo-poo one. Right? And if you want to get a at least semi-decent one, like here's one that at least has some life on it, I guess, and it's 50 chaos. What you're looking to spend if you get a like semi-decent one that maybe has some life, maybe 1 resist, you're looking at spending at least probably 1x on this. So again, you know, spending maybe 2.5 to 3x, and you're getting a significantly better item than I think you would if you're just getting a rare. Let's actually look. Let's do the 3x. Let's do actually 2x. So we'll come down to buyout price here, and we'll do minimum 2, and we'll come over and we'll do exalted, and I'm going to search, and this is going to show me everything above 2 exalts. So like this one, what does it got? It's got 12, so it's very low in armor. So the other one has 3,000 armor. This has 100 armor. But it's got 6% physical damage reduction. That's not bad, I guess. It's got lower block. This one's a kind of cool one. You know, it's got 9% chance to block. It's got pretty low life, though. 700 armor, which is actually quite a lot for a rare one. So all these are kind of not that great. This one's kind of cool. But very low life, right? So you can kind of tell. Even the 2 exalt ones are like, they're okay, but they're nothing that great. This one's kind of interesting. So yeah, the 2 to 3x, it's nothing crazy that you're gonna get for the rare. Spend a little bit more, get that surrender shield and get the 3,000 armor, the crazy block, and it's actually got the same thing. Let me go ahead and show you this, guys, this as well. Go back to the surrender here. Surrender. You might not think it's the same because it doesn't say 5% of life recovered on block. It says 250. So what that actually means is if you have, I think my math is right here. I'm actually probably wrong, but let's just go with it. If you have about 5,000 HP, it's going to be roughly the same to get 250 life on block compared to having the 5%. Now I'm second guessing myself. Let's pull out a calculator here and let's actually calculate that. Times 0.005. Yep, that's actually exactly correct. So it's literally the same thing as a 5% life recovered on block rare flat or rare shield. So interesting. I like this better. This is my personal choice. I know other people like the other shield. There's another option that you can do. You can actually get a shield that has 30% increased mana reservation efficiency. I know that some other people are saying you can do that. That's absolutely an option, but with the setup that I'm going to do for my in-game version of the build, you don't need that. So that actually saves you probably about 4 exalts on that shield. Because you don't need it. So we'll talk about that here in a little second. So another thing, whilst we're on the block topic here, I like this actually quite a bit. It's a small cluster jewel here, and it's got second skin on it. 3% chance to block spell damage, 3% chance to block attack damage, and 30% armor. And it's on a armor base here as well, so you're getting the 50% armor on that node coming up to it. And what I suggest doing is trying, you can get it super cheap, by the way, it's 1 chaos, but if you wanted to also get on there like life, you could get maybe like a tier 1 life roll. It's like 12 life, nothing crazy, but that's like 20 chaos, really not that bad. And this kind of rounds out your block. These 3% right here is actually what got me my max block, the 75/75. And it's just super cheap. It's super cheap, gives you a ton of armor. It's going to get you close to your 25k base armor. So I just think it's a great option. It's super cheap, and it's something that you guys might want to take a look at. Moving on to the big boy. So this is incredibly expensive. It's still very, very much so the best amulet for our build. It's absolutely crazy. I'll give you guys an example. Taking my min-maxed build from last league, which had Ashes of the Stars, it was at 26 million DPS. Okay, so I took that Ashes of the Stars out and I put in what I'm about to show you guys as the new amulet that you want to get, and it was 4 million DPS lower. It was 21 million, or I guess 5 million. It was 21 million versus the Ashes of the Stars 26 million. So that's actually a lot, but of course it is expensive, right? So what are we going to do in the meantime? We're going to get something like this, and this is kind of poo-poo, but it's got the right stats, right? It's got +1 number of skeletons. Basically what you can think about there is that's like a 9% more multiplier, which is pretty solid. And then it's got the +1 to level of all skill gems. So pretty good, and they're not too expensive. Obviously, you know, that's pretty expensive for a lot of people. But 10x compared to, you know, 35, 40x, right? So this is your in-game amulet until you can get your Ashes of the Stars. Now, I'm not even using this, actually. What I'm using is very simply, I took the skeletons off, and I'm just doing level of all skill gems, and then I got on their life, and I got on their chaos resistance, and I got dex as well, because I did need some dex. That's what I did. I think I spent maybe 4 or 5x on mine, and mine is fantastic, and it's still a great investment for DPS and survivability for all of your minions as well, like your Animate Guardian, because it's getting that +1 to skill gem as well. So it's a solid pick overall. That is my new suggestion, is to get this right here, +1 level all skill gems, plus to maximum number of skeletons as your new min-maxed until you can afford the Ashes of Stars. And if you can't even afford that, then go ahead and take off the skeletons and just get one with +1 to level of all skill gems. So that is what we're going to do until we get Ashes of the Stars. Moving on here, because we now do not have Ashes of the Stars, which has the 20% increased mana reservation efficiency on it. Let's go ahead and go back to Ashes if I can. I think it's this one. Yeah, so 19% increased reservation efficiency of skills. So using this last league, we were able to do a couple tricky things and have enough mana left over to actually run skitterbots, which was pretty cool. Got us some pretty consistent damage. But now that we don't have Ashes of the Stars, we do not have access to this increased reservation efficiency. So we're going to do something a little bit different this league. We are actually going to do aspect of the spider instead of skitterbots, and it is pretty good. It's a little bit less mana reserved. That's how we're able to do it. It is 25% mana reserved instead of the skitterbots, which is 35%. And we're able to do this by only putting on Charisma anointed onto your amulet, which is 2 gold oils and an opalescent oil, which is going to cost you about 1 exalt total. But Charisma is going to give you, I think it's like 16% mana reservation efficiency, which is pretty solid. We're going to do that, and then we're also going to get a helmet like this. Determination, or that's actually all that we have here. So determination or zealotry. And by the way, I'm going to put all of these links in the video description below, guys. If you guys want to check out any of these here, check out on the links below. But yeah, so zealotry or determination, reduce or increase reservation efficiency. So doing those two things, getting charisma and getting a helmet like this, is going to allow you to run very comfortably aspect of the spider, which is going to give you a 15% more damage multiplier, as well as reduced damage taken as well. So pretty solid. I think it's a super good choice since we don't have Ashes of the Stars. I might actually even use that when I get Ashes of the Stars too. So pretty solid there. The only downside there, of course, is, you know, that we don't get something like 40% increased skeleton but damage, but whatever, really not a big deal. And as far as the implicits here that you can roll with the Searing Exarch, you would want to try and get the one that has increased mana reservation efficiency as well. You're probably going to get 7 or 8% if you're using the greater one. And doing that, you're going to probably have around 100 mana left over, which is more than enough to cast your skeleton. You're just not going to be able to spam it, which is really whatever. You only need to spam, or you only need to cast your skeleton mages once every, 4-5 seconds, which again is plenty mana. You're going to be totally fine. So that's kind of the setup that I'm rocking right now, and I think it's really, really good. Now I'm going to put my POB in the video description so you guys can take a look at my gear, give you guys some inspiration for how to gear out your characters a little bit. So take a look at that if y'all are interested. And that's the character. Everything else is pretty much the same as, everything we've been doing the last few leagues, but those are some of the changes that I thought were important to go ahead and get to you guys. I hope those helped. And what I also still want to do, like I said, is I do want to show you guys my Atlas tree and kind of walk you guys through the bossing strategy that I have been doing to make my currency. This build is absolutely fantastic for boss farming. It's actually really good for mapping as well. I think it's maybe A tier mapper, but the bossing is an S tier mapper for sure. Crazy single target damage. So that allows us to do some of the crazy bosses in the game. Currently I do these right here. So I release all the Maven's Crucible bosses at once. I'm able to do that no problem. I'm able to do rare ones like that. So the quantity, because I get this right here, which is 100% increased effective modifiers on your map, I typically try to run my maps at least 55% quantity, and when you do 55%, it's going to multiply by 2, and it's going to give you 110%, and that is actually the breaking point at which you're going to get 8 splinters every run. So super solid to do that. 8 splinters every run is very, very profitable. And what I've been doing is running the Guardian, the Shaper Guardian loop, right? So I'll actually run all 4 Shaper Guardian maps: Hydra, Phoenix, Minotaur, Chimera. I'll run those. And then I will do the Formed, which is the invitation here. I'll get those splinters. I'll get actually a ton of fragments along the way, and then I'll actually do Shaper. And when I do the Shaper, I sell the fragment there, and I sell the loot. But if you're doing the regular Shaper, you're not going to have any loot. It's just going to be the fragment itself. But the fragments currently are selling for about 56 to 60 chaos, which actually pays entirely for all of the maps that you run. So you're getting that covered, and then you're making full profit on everything that you get in your maps, and you're making full profit on all the splinters that you get. So each set that I do, I make about an X.5 to 2X. Now I can do about 3 runs an hour if I'm doing regular Shaper. I have recently started doing Uber Shaper. It's crazy. It's kind of an asshole fight for minions. If you guys have not seen it, I'm actually going to release a video probably in the next day or so that is showing you guys all of the Uber bosses with skeleton mages. I've got about half of them down so far, and I want to get them all down before I release that video. But it's kind of a pain in the ass to do the Shaper one specifically. If you guys have not seen it yet, if y'all know the Xana, where she goes into her little red bubble, and you have to sit inside the red bubble while all the purple shit flies around the map, and if you step out, one of them will kill you. In the Uber version of this fight, the bubble is super small, and she actually walks around the freaking map while you got all this madness running around. And on top of that, because we're a minion build, we have a whole bunch of minions around us, and we have our, you know, all of our specters, our Animate Guardian sitting right on top of our butts, and we literally can't see anything. So it's kind of a pain in the ass fight, but it's very doable. I did it on my first try a couple days ago, like no problem. And doing that is more profitable than obviously doing the regular shaper. So I've been doing that, and I typically make about 1.5 to 2 exalts per set that I do. So very profitable, and that's just doing the bosses. Now you can of course do a couple different things. Like if you really wanted to, you could also do the Cyrus loop over here, so you could do all of the conquerors and you could kill Cyrus. I'm probably going to switch to that maybe even tomorrow and kind of test that loop. I did that last league, and that's very profitable. That's even more profitable because you're actually getting the Conqueror's Exalted Orbs on top of it. So it's a pretty profitable loop there. Now, as far as the actual map itself, I'm doing very little for the map. I really am trying to zoom as fast as possible to the boss, kill the boss, do the loop. And by saying that, basically here's what I'm doing. I'm taking out like a lot of the different league contents, and I'm only doing basically the heist stuff and essences. And I drop an absolute butt ton of essences in this strategy. And you know what, actually I don't know what happened here. This is a little bit I'll fix this for you guys. This is a little bit messy, but I take all of the essences stuff. Here it is, there we go. I take all of the essences stuff, and I take all of the rogue markers and heist stuff. And the reason I take the heist stuff is because it's so easy. You literally just run over to the heist smuggler's cache, you open it, and you get loot, right? It's not a whole lot of loot, but you average per map, it's typically about 10 chaos that you make a map. Maybe a little bit less. Maybe it's somewhere between 8 and 10, I would say, per map using this strat, because you're getting a ton of rogue markers, and maybe like once every 4 maps, you're getting a blueprint. Some of those can sell for 20 chaos. The cheapest ones sell for 5 chaos. So it's a pretty solid little, you know, run up to it, click it, grab it, move on, right? And then the essences are just crazy strong right now, just because you just make so much currency from them, and it doesn't take too much time. So that's literally it. That, and I'm doing these nodes here, these nodes, and these nodes to get more scouting reports. And the reason I'm doing that is because those are free Guardian maps. Occasionally when you roll these, it'll give you like a free Shaper map, it'll give you a free Guardian map, you run it and it's free. So pretty solid there, and it gets you extra free fragments doing that. And honestly, that's the entire strategy. The only other thing I guess maybe you could say is I run Singular Focus. And the reason I run Singular Focus is for getting extra maps. I actually don't even run regular maps. I get cemeteries to sell in bulk, either on TFT or just regularly on trade, and I sell them. I was selling them yesterday for like 8 chaos in bulk. So it's pretty good. It's pretty good. I had like 30 maps after a few sets. Not a few sets, but quite a few sets of my Shaper maps. And that's, you know, extra currency there, and it's only 1 node. So pretty solid. I think that's pretty much it for my Atlas tree. Like I said, I'm going to link this in the description for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed everything here. A little bit longer of a video than I kind of wanted it to be, but I did want to pack it as full as possible with some good juicy information for you guys. So I hope you guys did like it. If y'all have questions, definitely let me know in the comment section. I'm going to do my best to answer all y'all's questions. Like I said in the beginning, come hang out in my Twitch stream if you guys want. Ask questions over there. And that's all I got, guys. I guess the only other thing that I want to say, and I already mentioned it as well, was that probably in the next 2 days, I am going to release all of the Uber bosses. So if you guys are not already subscribed, hit that subscribe button, turn on that notification bell. I'm sure you guys will be interested to see all of the Uber bosses done on a Skeleton Mage build. I'm pretty excited to do it, pretty excited to show you guys as well. They're super fun. They're crazy bosses. So it's a lot of fun doing them, so I'm excited to kind of give you guys all of those. So turn that notification bell on if you haven't. That's all I got on this one, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed, and y'all have a great day, and I will catch you guys in the next one.